Hi, and welcome to this episode of John's Model Kit Review. In today's fun classic model kit review, we'll be looking at the HobbyCraft 1/48 scale Seversky P-35A. This kit was originally released in 1993. It is HobbyCraft kit number HC1553. In this review video, I'll give a little bit of the history of the Seversky P-35A. We'll go through the kit instructions and we'll talk about any potential problem areas to watch out for during the construction phase of the build. We'll talk about the exterior surface detailing and the fit of the major parts of the kit. We'll also look at the detail parts in the kit that make up the landing gear and the interior. We'll look at the included marking options for this kit, and we'll talk about the quality of the decals themselves. And finally, we'll talk about how this kit compares to the competition from other manufacturers. If you like in-depth model kit reviews and model building technique videos, please consider becoming a member. Depending on the level of membership, members get perks like early access to new videos, bonus content, etc. Your support is very much appreciated, and it will help me to continue to make great model making content on this channel. Looking at the history of the P-35A, the P-35A was a development of the earlier P-35 fighter aircraft. It was specifically developed for the Swedish Air Force. The P-35As were faster than the standard P-35s since they had a more powerful 1,050 horsepower Pratt & Whitney R1830-45 Wasp engine. This engine gave the P-35A a top speed of 310 miles per hour. Armament on the P-35A consisted of two 30 caliber machine guns located on the upper nose of the aircraft and two 50 caliber machine guns, one in each wing of the aircraft. The P-35As are most well known for their defense of the Philippines in World War II. By the end of the fighting in the Philippines, the 4th Composite Group had racked up an impressive tally in spite of flying obsolete aircraft types against the best the Japanese had. They shot down about 60 Japanese aircraft, adding another 30 destroyed on the ground. Although the entire P-35A force was destroyed, only a few were actually shot down by Japanese fighters. Most were either destroyed on the ground or shot down by friendly fire. Going through the kit instructions, in step 1, we're joining the cockpit floor with the rear bulkhead, and we're adding the pilot seat and the control column. Setting these parts together, they go together easily, but there are no positive locators that ensure the proper angle of the rear bulkhead. I would suggest dry fitting these parts into the fuselage halves prior to the glue setting. The detail on these parts is actually pretty good. I would say it's sufficient for the scale, and the only thing I would add here is a set of seat belts for the pilot seat. In step 2, we're building the engine. As simple as this engine is, I think this will look great on the finished kit with a little bit of detail painting. In step 3, we are painting the insides of the fuselage halves. We're also adding the clear door to the fuselage side, as well as the instrument panel and the cockpit assembly to the kit. Since the P-35A had 30 caliber machine guns in it, you do want to remove 1/2 inch from parts C37 and C38. This is a nice photo of an actual cockpit from a P-35. It was finished almost completely in aluminum, and it had a lot of black instrument panels, and so this is a good reference for painting the interior on your kit. In step 4, we're building the wing assembly. You want to make sure to drill out the holes that are marked on this step. I may deviate from the instructions here by gluing the upper wings to the fuselage sides first, and then attaching the lower wing to the fuselage and wing assembly after that. Just setting the wing parts and the fuselage parts together, it looks like we'll be able to get a very nice fit between the wing and the fuselage, and it might require just a little bit of dry fitting on the lower wing to fuselage joint. In step 5, we're adding the elevators to the aircraft. We're also joining the wing and fuselage assemblies, as well as adding the clear parts in the engine and the engine cowl to the kit. You'll just want to take your time on this step to make sure you get all your fits to line up properly. And you'll want to take a little extra time to make sure that all of the small parts are mounted correctly on the kit. Again, we don't have any positive locators for a lot of these parts. That just means you need to slow down and take your time in construction. Looking at the clear parts on the kit, they seem to have pretty nicely molded framing on them. They're not super thin or super clear, but again, I think if you take your time on these and mask them carefully, you'll get a good result in the end. In step 6, we have the most complicated step of construction. In step 6, we're adding the landing gear and the prop and the other final bits to the kit. This kit gives you the option of building the landing gear either closed up or opened up. I think this step of construction could have been broken down into multiple steps to make it much more clear. However, if you slow down and take your time on this step, I think you'll be able to get a good result here. Just a quick note, parts A8 and A9, those are the collectors for the spent ammunition of the wing guns. Those are optional. Some aircraft had those and some did not. So a little bit of research here is needed. There are a series of inserts in step 6 that give a little bit more detail on mounting these certain parts. You want to just take your time and go through each of these and make sure you follow these instructions carefully. There are marking options for 2 aircraft included in this kit. The first is for a U.S. Army Air Force 34th Pursuit Squadron P-35A in 1941. This is in the olive drab over neutral gray scheme. The second marking option is for a J9, and that's the Swedish designation for the P-35A. This aircraft was stationed in Sweden. It's Unit F8 in 1942. This aircraft is tan over gray with dark green squiggles all over the aircraft. This would be a little bit of a challenging marking option to paint. Looking at the decals themselves, they seem to be in register. They look to be of decent quality. I've actually used a few of these decals on another kit, and they performed very well, and I don't anticipate having any issues with the rest of the decals in this kit. Looking at the surface detail on the exterior of the kit, it is represented by very finely engraved panel lines, and the quality of the engraving is very similar to a Hasegawa kit of the time period. The fit of the major parts looks to be pretty decent overall. I don't anticipate any major fit issues with this kit, although, as I've said before, you'll want to take your time with these small parts since there are not positive locators for many of them. The small parts themselves are sufficiently detailed, and I think this kit will actually present pretty nicely as a finished kit if you take your time and spend a little extra time detailing it and weathering the kit. Looking at how this kit compares to the competition, Dora Wings released a 1/48 scale J9, which is the same aircraft as the P-35A. The Dora Wings kit is far more detailed than this HobbyCraft kit. It also includes photo etch and masks for the windows. I have some experience with the Dora Wings kits, and as nice as they look in the box, they're more of a modern short run type of kit, and I anticipate the Dora Wings kit being much more involved in the construction phase of the build, and you'll spend a lot of time dry fitting the parts to make sure that everything goes together well. In addition, the HobbyCraft kit is much less expensive, and I think the HobbyCraft kit is going to be more appropriate for a wider range of modelers, whereas the Dora Wings kit is more appropriate for skilled modelers. Well, I'd love to know what you guys think. If there are any P-35 fans out there, please let me know in the comment section below. As always, I hope you found this video entertaining and informative, and until next time, model on.